This episode of iFanboy is brought to you by Dead Space, Only the Dead Survive, Squarespace, and GoDaddy.
The whole creator-owned issue has come up recently, and Robert Kirkman had some comments after San Diego Comic Con, and then you kind of joined the fray, and you guys are going to be talking here at the Baltimore Comic Con about that.
Yeah, this might not have been a good idea, but we're going to try this anyhow. Robert got up in front of his green screen and his banjo and made a half-ass attempt to rally the troops behind his new job, which I'm excited he's excited, and obviously I've lived my life as a creator who does creator material since I came into comics, and I've not stopped. So obviously we have that in common, but his perception of it I thought was faulty, and I said so in a lengthy podcast with Word Balloon, who loves you guys, so you should not...
We're big fans of John. No, we're big fans of John. No,
all right.
We're buddies.
So I did a rebuttal to Robert without banjo music, with my perception of what creator-owned comics and the world of creator comics, which I think is a little more sobering version of it. The truth is that it's very hard to find an audience, to make a living, to get the retailers' respect and support, and I expressed that idea, and he offered, you want to take it to the stage, and I went, yeah, I'll take it to the stage. I think people want to see us slap each other or something. I was doing my signing earlier, and it definitely felt that something's expected that I physically cannot offer. Well,
we haven't had a good feud since the Peter David McFarlane days.
It's not going to happen. Me and Robert now have to slap each other in public, so we're just going to take turns slapping each other in the face.
Give them what they want.
The audience applauds, and then we'll get back to the conversation.
But I think it's interesting because Kirkman brought up a lot of points about the difference between working for Marvel and DC, and we're doing creator-owned work. And admittedly, kind of our point of view on it is that you definitely get established by working on the big two or whatever. But it's clear that the payday is for the creator-owned work. I mean, you look at what Mark Miller's doing with Wanted and with Kick-Ass, and and what you're going to see with Torso and with Powers and things like that. It seems to be in this day, in the 21st century, the way publishing is going, that he kind of has a point.
He has a point, but you're talking about, and this is my rebuttal, was you're talking about rarefied air. The air that I breathe, that Robert breathes, that Mark breathes, Ed Brubaker as well. I mean, it's ridiculous to have forgotten the 10 years that came before it. Right. And even there are peers of ours who put out a creator-owned book that absolutely does not connect with the audience that they have built up on their X books or whatever they're working on. So it's very unique to be able to build up an audience that is so interested in you as a creator that they'll now follow. Right. So that was my point, that it's like when Tarantino hit, everyone started writing the scripts out of order, like their acts out of order, because Tarantino did it. That was one person. Anyway. Yeah, it was one person. And that, you know what I mean? That's it's almost the exception to the rule as opposed to the rule, right. And I thought it was important to be a little more honest about the fact that creator-owned work is actually a financial hardship. I worked for years where, Torso particularly, I remember I literally sold enough to cover the cost of the book plus 100, which meant I got a check for maybe $75 each issue. And then now, over the years, and particularly because of Ultimate Spider-Man and the audience I found, enough people had heard, you should check out this stuff. Right. The books are all in profit now, but it's like one of those, it's like Caddyshack made no money when it first came out, that kind of thing. Yeah. Now it's done well, and all those books that I'd done well, but at the time, and I'd won, not to be braggy, I'd won awards, and the people, I had write-ups in Spin and Rolling Stone and Entertainment Weekly, and none of it, I never sold over 3,800 copies, and Torso never sold over 2,200 copies as a single issue, which literally was just enough. Just by the grace of Larry Marder did he let me make another one, right? And that was great about Image, and that's true. But I was always looked at as I was kind of like Woody Allen, I was never going to make anybody money, but hey, it's nice. It's nice. He's pleasant. You know, it's nice. It's not embarrassing anybody. You know, and that was my career, and even that is a lucky thing.
Right.
Even that, there's a lot of books that don't make it past issue 3 because you got to be like a mental patient, like myself, to like continue on year after year after year with no end in sight. I mean, you know, there was no way to tell that it was ever going to turn for anything. Right.
This episode of iFanboy is brought to you by Dead Space. Dead Space is EA's first survival horror game and an original IP created by a handpicked team of horror fanatics. It's a terrifying game experience that deserves its M rating. To survive in Dead Space, it's all about the strategic dismemberment of your enemies set in a horrific sci-fi atmosphere. Dead Space recently won the Game Critics Awards Best of E3 2008 for Best Action Adventure Game and is in stores October 16th. Pre-order your copy online now at deadspace.ea.com.
Thank you all for coming to the premiere event of the Baltimore Comic Con. I think we all know what we're here for. This is.
I actually don't know why I'm here.
You don't know why you're here? But
I talked to your publicist. I thought she told you. Oh, that wasn't. Oh, come on. Not a bad start. No, come on.
So I guess we'll start off with a couple introductions, and to them with absolutely no introduction whatsoever. Here we have Mr. Brian Michael Bendis. And of course, Robert Kirkman.
Who are you?
My name's C.B. Sapolsky. Forgive me if I don't know what I'm doing, because I just got called in to do this, so...
We realized about a second ago that this had no shape to it, so CB was generous enough to come up here blind and give us kind of a moderator format. So.
I called his publicist, but he seems to be acting like he
It
didn't know
did work the first time. Move on.
And I'm sure you all have a lot of questions and, things we want to discuss here. We're going to run it as kind of an open forum. But I think just as Brian said, to provide a little bit of context to this, first and foremost, let's everyone in the room give a big round of applause to Robert for becoming one of the newest partners at Image Comics. In 1991, when Image first launched, it was an unprecedented move in comics or in any industry really to have 7 of the top creators in any industry leave and form their own company. And it's, they've been that solid group of creators with some changes over the years. It's the first time to let a new member in, and it's an unprecedented step. And it, speaks to Robert's, talent and popularity. And anything you'd like to say to, to that regard?
Very flattering. Very excited.
All right.
It's all old news to me now. So.
All right.
Been a while.
And part of the reason I think this panel came about is we've all seen the now infamous green screen manifesto online, to which Robert had a lot to say about the state of the industry, and kind of trying to motivate all the companies and the publishers across the industry to a sort of call to arms. And many creators have spoke up. Brian was one of the most vocal online to it, on his message boards and in the podcast. And, it opened up a lot of debate, and I think that's a debate that we're here to continue today. Now, do you guys want to say something to open this up, and then we can open it up to questions and, go from there?
I would just like to. We got kids in the audience. Young. Fuck you, Brian Bendis.
Fuck you.
Rebuttal.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
She's having a lot of fun. Fuck you.
That's a good point. All right. Thanks for coming. I actually, and also Robert just admitted he didn't think that joke was going to work. Thank you for admitting it did.
It worked.
Okay. So, you know, Robert, and do you want to say what you said in the video? Do we have the video?
I'd like to start by saying that Brian is a friend. We're friends. We're buddies. We're good guys. We have known each other for a while. Brian has helped me out in a lot of very crucial points in my career, and I appreciate that. And I hope that nothing said tonight, you know, excuse that in any way. I love you. I'll take a bullet for you. So I'd like to start with that. That's just something you say. Thinking about that, I would probably hide behind you if there was.
Do you have the video to show? The original video?
I do not.
Do you want to express to people what you said?
I can reiterate a bit what I was going to
Do
say.
you need a green screen and the banjo music? Or?
I would prefer, yeah. I need to get like this.
Yeah. The serial killer face, can you give it? It was a little serial killer. If you shot up a bunch of people, that video they show, and you go, yes, look at them.
I'll try and be less rambly this time. I had just come back from San Diego, and I was very excited about comics, and the Image thing had just happened, and I was looking towards the future. And I just know from being at comic book conventions and talking to other creators that there are a lot of comic book creators at Marvel and DC who would like to do more creator-owned work or would like to do creator-owned work at all, and feel like it is too much of an uphill battle, or that it's too difficult, and it's not worth trying. And so part of the thing I wanted to do was just kind of stand up as I had recently left Marvel and say, I'm going all creator-owned. It can be done. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it'll work for everyone, but you know, if you want to give it a shot, it can be done, and it should be done. And you know, that was part of it. And then the other thing was that thinking about it and just running through a few possibilities in my head, I kind of figured that something like that happening could actually benefit the industry as a whole if it would force Marvel and DC to, you know, in turn start gearing their books a little more towards children and hunting down an audience that we're kind of ignoring right now. And you know, looking out at the audience right now, I see a lot of old faces, and it scares me, frankly. I think that you know, the bigger companies and you know, Image and Dark Horse and everybody are catering to a locked-in fan base that is going to dwindle as time goes forward, and that kind of terrifies me. And so, you know, I just wanted to kind of point that out and kind of shine a light on it. And I've got some discussion going. I think that's a good thing. I don't think I have all the answers or many answers, but you know, I just wanted to point that out, and here's my new video camera. So there you go.
And my response was, I thought that Robert, though well-intended, and though I of course agree, and have lived the life of a creator that creates creator-owned books, literally since I knew how to write and draw, like physically as a child, and been doing this, and still to this day do it, that of course I agree that you should do it. And I think for any artist or writer of any type, that it's an immensely important experience to feel what it feels like to produce something whole that did not exist prior to your existence on the planet. But in your diatribe, or whatever we'll call it, you were using yourself as an example, which I thought, I was worried that you didn't realize that you were breathing, and I also am breathing rarefied air.
Rarefied air.
You like the rarefied air? No, because there are certain creators and there's certain people who are able to do both, or have had success in doing both. You and I, and Ed Brubaker and Mark Millar, all of which it would be ridiculous not to realize it's rarefied air that we breathe, that we are able to do some things that other people aren't allowed to do. I don't know how long we're going to be able to do them. It's show business. I know there's a shelf life, but for now, it's rarefied air.
Yeah.
So, in your call to arms, I was worried that what you were expressing wasn't accurate. That truthfully, most creator-owned books fail. Should you not make them because you think they'll fail? No, you should, but you should know going in, you're probably going to fail. Just like if you were making a movie, or even if you got a record deal to make an album, probably no one's going to see or hear it. That's just, you know, tons of albums come out every year, tons of movies come out every year. They don't even get DVD released. They hit a festival and they disappear. No one ever sees them again. So I just want, and though I'm Debbie Downer, I thought it was very clear, go ahead and make your comic, but the life Robert's leading is not the life you're going to get to lead. And if you're a filmmaker, if you work in a video store, everyone thought they were Tarantino that year, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to be clear to anyone, and I hope everyone in this room sits down and tries to make a comic. That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing. But know that unless you know God shines down on you, there's not going to be an opportunity for it to be seen. So know that going in, and just don't care. You know, the whole time I was at Image, you know, up until I was on Ultimate Spider-Man, I was doing a book, and I don't usually talk numbers, but I'll be frank here because we're talking about stuff. Torso never sold more than 2,200 copies, which meant that it sold 100 copies more than it needed to make a profit. Like I just eked out break even, which means that thank God for Jim Valentino and Larry Martyr and Eric Larson, that they were kind enough that I wasn't embarrassing them, I wasn't annoying anybody. Go ahead and make another one if you want to. If a check for $75 is enough for you to go ahead and make one, go ahead and make one. And that's what I did. Thankfully now, years later, the book found an audience, but it didn't look like it was ever going to find an audience. And I just don't care because I have mental issues and I just go along the way. But I knew the whole time, there was no end in sight. So I just wanted to put that image out there, no pun intended, I want to put that image out, that that's the reality for most creator-owned books, that you can't live on it at all. I lived as a caricature artist all those years, well into my first year on Ultimate Spider-Man, because I wasn't sure how long I was going to get that job, right? And I remember very, very, very clearly winning an Eisner and having to leave San Diego early because I had a gig that night at a bat mitzvah where I was going to cut my wrist. It was so horrible. But that was the reality of it in my head when I was growing up. I said, wow, everyone would win an Eisner if you can imagine such a thing. I imagined a whole different life around it. That would be, but the reality of it was this other thing. So I just wanted to put that. Now I'm down.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. And I had those exact same days on Battle Pope, and I had those exact same days on Tech Jacket and all of the other forgotten gems that are all collected in the comics. That obviously didn't make squat. It was it's a very hard road, and having you help me out and get me at Marvel was part of the many, many things that led to me being able to breathe this rarefied air that is so delicious that we all get to enjoy together. But my argument,
smells like Posada.
My argument is that I'm glad that it actually doesn't. Anyway, rarefied air is, I don't think it's as rare as you might say. I think there are many creators that aren't doing creator-owned work that could do creator-owned work, and there's definitely a cycle that's necessary in the life of a creator to work their way up to where they can get a hold of that sweet rarefied air and turn that into a profitable creator-owned book, because I think a lot of people don't realize, and I think you'll admit this, Powers is a very profitable endeavor. And part of that is because we are creators who have gotten to the point where we can sell books, and I'm not blind to that. That's something I'm very aware of, and what I would say is that I was speaking to specific creators, and I even said it in the video, there's a cycle. You start out in creator-owned work, you work your way up, you get your name out there, and the problem that I see is that there are a lot of creators out there that stay on corporate books when they don't want to.
But, and this is that's one element of your speech that a lot of creators have pointed out to you since, that is one cycle, not the only cycle.
No,
that
I'm not saying it should be.
But in your initial thing, you said, this is what creators do. They get into Marvel, they build up, and you should either jettison or you're going to die. And
Well, there are guys out there that just want to do Marvel and DC
That's
work
true.
and really just got to do that Green Arrow series, and that's fine, but I do not think you can argue that there are creators that are going to do Green Arrow for the rest of their life and stay viable creators.
Well, see, you're making generalizations that I actually don't agree with at all. First of all, there's tons of creators that have absolutely no interest in superheroes or mainstream or quote-unquote mainstream comics at all. and have published for decades. Los Brothers Hernandez and Andrew Tomine, and some of these guys in my hoity-toity It's a Marvel have called them to try to get them to come over and draw an issue of Marvel Team Up, because I thought, how cool would that be? And they're like, hey, get the fuck out of here. They're not interested at all.
Yeah.
So I would to not acknowledge the fact that there are many creators, some of which whose shoulders we stand on, who don't adhere to the cycle that you've described is almost ignoring
I think for the sake of the argument, we can just assume that I'm talking about mainstream comics.
But even in mainstream comics, there's examples that go all over the place. It's kind of one of the scary things and one of the cool things about our little tiny bottom of the showbiz rung. It's just like showbiz, there's no right or wrong way to break in. And in most normal jobs, if you do a certain thing and do it right, and you can build up the ladder of whatever success it is in that field. In our field, there's just like in any creative field, there's no rhyme or reason to why anyone's successful, why anyone gets. A lot of it has to do with luck. Somebody is being on the right book at the right time, and the temperature of the culture is at the right time. And we're both pretty good comic historians about why did Frank Miller work at that time? You know what I mean? Why he was the perfect voice for 1985 and that, for Dark Knight. We think about it all the time. So the question really is why just because it worked for you this way, you feel that there's a certain cycle, doesn't mean that it has to work for everybody that way. And my other argument is that I actually feel that there's a lot of people who are gigantic fans of these icon characters. Like Green Arrow, right? You know who I want on Green Arrow? The guy who's dying to do Green Arrow. And let's say that's all he wants to do. He fucking loves Green Arrow. As a fan, that's who I want to be on Green Arrow. All right? If that's what he wants to do and he wants to make me happy, that makes me happy. And there's absolutely zero wrong with that for that person.
No,
it's just a hey to him.
Yeah. As an individual case, there's nothing wrong with a guy who just wants to do Green Arrow, who's just going to do the best Green Arrow comic out there. That's going to be good for everybody. That's fine. He's going to be a happy person. My stance is talking to the guy who is doing the Green Arrow because he needs a paycheck. And Green Arrow is selling because of him. Because he has built himself up to a certain place where he can do Green Arrow. Because a lot of times there are characters where they won't let you do them because they're not big enough characters, and you got to get to that level where you're selling books based on your name, and then they'll go, you know what, if you want to do Green Arrow, you get to do Green Arrow now because you've proven yourself on all this other stuff. And then that guy gets to do Green Arrow, and then he's like, well, I don't really like this anymore. But he stays on it, and he keeps doing stuff for the corporate times. And these people do exist because I've talked to them. I know who they are. I know.
Name names, come on.
There would be too many names to mention. But
are they in the room?
Anyway, you can argue about independent comics and all kinds of different ways to be successful, and there certainly are. I'm not saying that there's only one course to take in your comic book career. I am just saying that if you're sitting there and you're unhappy, and a lot of people are unhappy, there are options out there. A lot of people aren't aware of it.
I don't think there. See, and Grant Morrison had said this, and I'd said it too. Who exactly were you referring to? Who among our peers in our peer group do you think is unaware of the creator-owned market?
No one is unaware of the creator-owned market, but people are unaware that you can make enough money to sustain yourself in the creator-owned market with books that sell a fraction of the books at a corporation.
But you can't, and this is where we get. This is where we. No, so can't. We have peers.
Yeah.
Who have
Is this rarefied air again?
No. We have peers who have attempted to, and for whatever reason, because it wasn't the right property, or it just wasn't the right look of it, whatever reason, completely disconnected to the audience that they had built up from their Marvel and DC.
And that's a mistake. That's a mistake.
But there's
That's not the rule.
There's more examples of that. There's more examples of that than the 4 people I think that you're thinking of who've done so well with their creator-owned work.
I think there's more than 4 people that have done well with creator-owned work.
Well, the level you're talking, it's like 5. Really, I can.
Name names. What level am I talking about? Because the luminaries make a fantastic living,
Are they here? Are the Little Brothers here?
Make a fantastic
Let's ask them how
living.
much they make.
They did the Spider-Woman series with you. They didn't want, they're doing Ultra. They're fine. They could do more Marvel work if they wanted, but they are obviously making enough money on their book to continue doing what they want to do. And that book is
But I
not
don't
in
even want
the
to
top
talk about.
100.
I obviously adore.
I hate to name names, but yeah, they're good people. We both know them.
But I don't
that's
know
an
what they do.
That is an example.
But I don't know what they do for a living outside of that. I'm talking
They
about.
don't do anything for a living outside of that.
How do you know? They could prostitute themselves. They might give them hand jobs at the airport.
We can insinuate that they're.
I just insinuated they're giving hand jobs at the airport. No, but I think
There's
I
an
am
entire wealth of creator-owned people out there that are making a good living, is what I'm saying.
But there's
There
also
are people in the upper levels of Marvel and DC that are making page rates far less than what they could be making on books that sold a fraction of what they're doing. And that is a fact, and that is a fact that a lot of them are not aware of, because I talk to them at conventions, and they're like, wow, I had no idea that Charlie Adlard is making that much on Walking Dead. That is completely unheard of.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead. Walking Dead is not the most successful creator-owned book that has ever existed. Far from it.
But it rules!
It does.
My argument can be dismissed to a certain extent because I'm a new Image partner. And
No,
there's
but not
obviously an
because you're an
agenda
Image
here.
partner.
But your argument can also be dismissed just as easily as I am the Marvel guy. I am trying to keep the guys there. So
No, but I don't actually, I don't actually want anybody there but me, so I really have. I'm not keeping anybody.
we should talk.
There's a few artists that I really want to keep, but here's the thing. There's no artists I work with who I wouldn't kill to do a creator-owned series. And the truth is,
And you should do it. You should do it, Brian, because it can be done. No, you can do it. And you would be
I've
happy.
been doing it since 1991.
You've been dabbling for a long time. Dabbling. I do Powers, and then I do 9 Avengers titles. I'm not even paying attention to this, Brian. Don't let this intimidate you. It's all here, my friend.
But the truth of it, but you brought up a good point. For the writers, it's a lot easier because writers can produce more in a month than most artists can. Most artists can only do one. As God bless John Romita.
That's also a cop-out.
And no, that's not a cop.
It is.
It's not.
Well, I know where
I'm
you're
going to
going.
finish this.
Go ahead. I'll let you.
John Romita Jr. and Mark Babner are the unique guys that can produce an amazing comic book and do 2 a month. But it's only them. These other guys, this money that you speak of, this imaginary money, that only how many books sell under 5,000, including?
Do you think that the guys I'm talking about, the people I've already stated, I'm talking about the people that breathe the rarefied air.
Some of them have. Some of
Well,
them
you and I have
have.
different definitions of rarefied air. But I'm just like, these guys are not going to be doing books that sell 5,000 copies. And saying that they're going to be doing books that only sell 5,000 copies is doing them a disservice. And it is a falsehood that you're trying to perpetrate. And I'm sorry for
Not a
getting
falsehood.
serious.
It's a reality.
No, it's a reality. There are a lot of creator-owned books that sell at that level.
Shit. They sell shit.
They sell
because
shit.
The market, for literally as long as I've been making comics, and we were at Caliber, and if we broke 3,000, it was a Jewish holiday, man. We just went crazy. Sukkah, we went crazy. But it's very to pretend that you for sure are going to sell this. It's wrong. It's just this is a falsehood. It just is when all the money, all of the market share proves otherwise, that you probably aren't going to sell more than 3. Even if you're an Image, even if you're a Dark Horse, and they're good books, and I'm not talking about quality. You're talking about making a living that you can live on. All right? It also, for a lot of books, and I think, and I hate to do this, I would include the Little Brothers in this, is that it takes a while for the money to start really pumping, just because of the nature of the beast. And this was for any company. What happens is, the book comes out, you get good reviews, let's hope you get good reviews, and then the buzz starts building. But the buzz doesn't really affect your book, really for the first 6 months, the first year, all right? And then when the trade comes out, that's when things start rolling. That trade starts saying to people, this book might not go away. Because sadly, a lot of independent books do go away by issue 3. They just do. They just, the creative structure around them just falters, or those first numbers come out, those first issue numbers come out. I don't care who you are, I don't know what book you're on, it's always a bummer. It don't matter what, you always go, it's never what you'd hoped it would be. Even if you hope for 1,000, it'll be 99. It just will, right? So, and then the book goes away. So the marketplace as it is structured right now is set up for books really to fail, which is sad, and I really wish it wasn't the case. But what happens is, most books don't make it. Let's say let's say you're insane like me and you just keep going. I'm going to keep making Battle Pub. I don't give a shit. And you keep doing it, and then finally, you make your money on it, right?
Well, that's a certain case. That's not every case.
Most books, if you're lucky, and I'm talking about if you're lucky enough not to fail on your first issue, if you're lucky enough to make your first arc, if you're lucky enough to get a trade paperback for it, then maybe you'll see a check. And that's the truth. And I'm talking, I'm going to remind people, because I know I'm the one talking money here. I didn't give a shit about the money. And I don't think anyone should. Just make comics because you have to. If you don't make it, you're going to fucking lose your mind and just, go crazy. Make a comic because you want to. But I'm talking about if you're planning on quitting your job, it probably is never going to happen. And I actually work with a creator now who's, I think Coy Pham was working in the law firm up until recently when he was drawing Avengers, because he had no idea. It's a scary show. This is scary, even this tiny one we're on. So I just wanted to put it out there for people that what you're selling, to me, sounded almost irresponsible because it was selling the best version. Where I'm saying the reality I see is this other thing. And if you should say to people, you're probably not going to sell 2,000, probably not going to make $100, but you should do it because you should do it. And fuck all the rest. And I'm telling you, no matter what happens, 10 years from now, I promise you, use me as an example, 10 years from now, you'll be so happy you drew this book. You'll be happier than anything else you've ever done. This is where me and you agree.
Sure, yeah.
I think absolutely you should do it, even if and then, my buddy Stuart Immonen, who does Ultimate Spider-Man, spends every other second he has on his webcomic, right? And I love that he does that. You know what I mean? Because you can tell he needs both. And that's what I love. And that's kind of where I was always coming from. Not to keep babbling here, but my point of view from this rarefied air we are is I need to do both. I actually don't feel like I dabble. I feel like I spend a great amount of time creating new ideas and creating new books, some of which haven't come out yet because I'm not ready to show them yet. But Powers continues almost into its 10th year, that I feel that the experience of creating Powers and the experience of creating Ultimate Spider-Man really helped each other tremendously for me as a creative talent. I to be able to do whatever you want in the book can almost make you lazy. Because you can do it, I can do anything. Oh, kangaroos are on this page, I want to do kangaroos. And we know some guys that do that. They have a book and the next page is dinosaurs and the next page is ninjas, and because you can do whatever you want. Yeah. But it makes you fat and bloated and lazy. Whereas I like the fact that in Ultimate Spider-Man there's certain things I can't do, so it forces creativity on me. Like I can't have them swear even though they swear all the time. So I come up with different ways to approach my language. But when that gets too much, I go back to Powers and I swear. And I know it to be real dialogue. And these two elements together, I knew were spectacular. And I told Mark Miller from the day I met him, do both, do the other, do both. Yeah. And it took him 8 years to invent Creator on Comics, but he was able to find this experience. And I know you've had this experience too when you were doing both. They rubbed off each other in a nice way. And I know for a while that you really enjoyed that rub off. Not to be weird.
I do enjoy rubbing off, that's good. Sure.
Okay.
Look.
So I win. Okay, good night.
Fantastic. You win. It's always it's very hard to do creator-owned work.
Yeah.
I'm never going to say that it's not very hard to do creator-owned work, but it's just not true that there is no such thing as a bankable creator who can give guaranteed sales in a creator-owned
show business, man. Mariah Carey takes lunch.
Maybe that was a bad album, but look, If someone's going to go do a book about a librarian because they really just want to do a creator book about a librarian, that's going to be a bit of a hard sell. And I think people going into it are going to know that it's a bit of a hard
Should I
sell.
not pitch that?
I'm already doing it, but
Library zombies.
zombies. Come on. I'm all zombies. You're all Avengers. Let's just get that established. But did you watch Dark Avengers? That is amazing. A new Avengers title. Who would have thought? And it's dark. It's gonna be dark. It's awesome. I can't wait to do that to my
I'm
kid.
gonna let it.
Anyway.
But also, the thing you said about kids before, there's actually a lot of kids here today.
Stand up.
They're not going to be here listening to two yentas babble on about what they know of it.
Is there anyone in
They're downstairs looking at the girl just as...
Is there anyone in here under 20 years old? Can you?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Look at
What are we
that.
looking at?
Who here
10
wants to
people?
make creator-owned comics?
Fantastic.
Who here wants to work in?
It's going to be an uphill battle.
All right. No, but I think what they're appreciating, boy, and I would have, honestly, in my formative years, would have really appreciated listening to whoever was us in 1984 talk about this. Because I went all the way through with like just blinders on, because what big comics, I just, you know, and only when I was like 10 years in there, what am I doing? Like, you know, so I hope that regardless of our silliness, they're appreciating at least hearing some stuff, because the one thing that is so unsexy and it annoys a lot of people when they ask you for advice is to relate to them that not only do you have to be this writer and artist that can produce and letter and do everything to make a comic book, but you also have to be the president of your company. You have to now become a business person, and that shit's boring. And yeah, I'm lucky, you know, I didn't know half this shit before I met my wife, and I wouldn't be half as successful if I hadn't met my wife, who knows how to do this, who's able to take this and rub the algae off it and turn it into something you guys are enjoying. But from her I learned, and a lot of my friends literally come to my house now to sit at my wife's feet to go, what do I do? How do I make a company? How do I incorporate myself? So should I get a lawyer? Should a lawyer read my contracts? And these things that are so important.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to talk about it a little later at the Harveys, that it's so important that you decide to be the president of your company. And it's so important that it almost doesn't even matter. Like, if you don't do it, don't even bother making a comic. You're completely wasting your time, because you can't even get published. You can't even go to Kinko's and get a hold of Diamond and make a comic. You can't even put together a red comic without being a business person.
Yeah.
And I think the Image founders, more or less, showed that to be. And most of them were equal parts, business person and creator. Some even better business people than they were creators. And I think that's what Image showed has to happen. If really there was a legacy to Image, that's it. Because I know there are other people around their age or their peers, and I know Eric's here and he can probably testify that were invited to be part of Image and went, you know, and they lost out. And now they're completely done. They're not even in comics anymore, because they were just sat there, I just want to draw, and it's not enough. You have to.
Do you think the Image creators were worried about doing books that sell 3,000?
I think, truthfully, I think most of them hedged their bets and were doing did what they did best. That you know, Todd did a cross between Batman and Spider-Man, and Jim Lee did a
They were
cross
smart. They
between
did commercial.
X-Men. Yeah, I mean, but it's you know, they didn't run it. They didn't do Joe Matt masturbating into a cup and hope it sells. They were doing it. A lot of them. There's actually a book where Joe Matt masturbates into a cup. But they were doing commercial work that was geared right after Marvel Alliance, full blast. So.
And it seemed to work out. But that was a
Some of
different
it worked out.
Sure.
Yeah.
It all worked out. It all worked out to a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
So anyway, one of the things you said in your rebuttal that kind of aggravated me was that you said that Marvel Zombies or Walking Dead would not be the success it is today without Marvel Zombies.
Not what I said, and I knew you misquoted. I said one of the many reasons. There's many reasons a book is successful. Any success, and again, in any medium whatsoever.
If something's successful, it's for numerous reasons. And one of the reasons I think that Walking Dead is successful, and more successful than Invincible, even though Invincible is technically the more mainstream idea and created a more mainstream flavor. The reason Walking Dead is more successful is because Marvel Zombies was so appealing, and you were so appealing on it, that audience fell in love. Not everyone, but some people saw that was their introduction to you, and went looking for this other stuff they're hearing. Oh, you like the zombies? There's more zombies over here, but they're even more hardcore, right? And the same thing happened with me on Powers. I can tell you exactly what my Powers numbers were until Ultimate Spider-Man came out. And then something else happened. It's not the only reason Powers is successful, but I am very aware that my constant showcase at Marvel for my illustrious talent is a commercial for Powers and Jinx and Torso, and I'm to this day they're still selling to everyone. Every once in a while, when Arc of Avengers #1 comes out, a handful of people will go, "Hey, that didn't suck. What else has this guy done?" And someone on message board goes, "Don't even touch his Marvel shit. Read his Image comics," and that's that. And you've seen it happen. And I'm saying to ignore that aspect of your audience or to shut it down. I worry, I could be totally wrong, but I worry historically that maybe you're kidding yourself a little to lose that window to some of the audience. Not all of it, some of it, and that's what it is.
Can I just ask one question since you're waiting? Brian,
Sure.
You said you worked as a caricature artist well into your career, even when you had made it and won an Eisner before you gave up a day job to work full-time in comics. What about yourself? When you were doing Battle Quote?
It didn't take me nearly as long as it did Brian to get to a point where I was sustaining myself. My first comic came out in 2001.
Well, you live in Kentucky, you can sustain yourself on much less.
Everyone should move to Kentucky. That's the. Yeah, I mean, if you can stand bowling, and that's pretty much it.
Well, you had a still, and you guys went to still out of the garage. That was a lot of money. Good.
Thanks, Brian. You gotta out me on that. That's good.
Larry Flynn.
You're cut off.
Moonshine?
No, I mean, yeah, I struggled along. I struggled along with Battle Quote. I struggled along with Tech Jacket and Capes and Cloudfall and Brit and like all this other stuff I did that it took a while to catch on, but it was making a little bit of money. I mean, I don't want to give people a misinterpretation of it takes a year to start making like a substantial bit of money on a thing that's successful, but there is money trickling in, and if you're a young guy, if you're a single guy, or if you're I don't know, whatever. I mean, you can get by on that stuff. But it's an uphill battle, but that's starting out, and that's what everyone should experience when they're starting out. I certainly don't want to go back and do it again.
Yeah. But, my wife brought ramen noodles into the house, and I almost got into an epileptic seizure. I was like, get them away from me.
I was living on credit cards, so I was eating debt for them. So.
My most intimate relationship in my 20s was the credit woman at Sears Roebuck, because they gave me a credit card when I was in college, $1,100 credit card at Sears. Me and my girlfriend, we didn't even know what they had at Sears. We're like, what are we going to buy at Sears? We spent all $1,100 in one sitting, and I was paying that off $10, $6 on the big for years. And she called up. I knew her by name. We had a relationship. So that's the reality of creator-owned comics.
That's the reality of starting out on creator-owned comics and starting out in the industry.
But okay, so while they're waiting, the question I want to ask you, and Grant asked it too. Who among us do you think doesn't know this?
I think there are many people. You're misunderstanding the argument and trying to make a point that counters something that I didn't even say. I'm not saying that people aren't aware that creator-owned comics exist, and I'm not saying people are unaware that they can do creator-owned comics. I'm saying they're unaware that they can do creator-owned comics and make a profit, and only do creator-owned comics and sustain themselves once they reach a certain level.
I think what you should be selling is that creators, you should invest in yourself. Whether you can afford to spend 2 days of the week investing in yourself, that the investment you would make is in creator-owned
Continue
work.
working at Marvel is what you're saying.
No, but some people just can't afford to do it, and it stops them cold. But and I'm saying that the relationship between two jobs can be very healthy. That working at Marvel or DC and working on something that you own together at the same time is a very special thing that I think I found to be the most special part of comics.
That's you, and your argument is that there are different things for different people. So you have to what, did you see that this was my kid? They see the kid first? What was it? No, that's fine. No. This is, I just did little line graphs, that's all. A little fun. I have a lot of free time now, so that's what. This is Marvel Zombies versus Walking Dead sales around the time that Marvel Zombies #1 hit, and it was very interesting to me because I did this just as an exercise, just to get my this tablecloth is wrecked. I apologize. It was just an exercise that I did just to see what it would show, and what it shows is that during the shipping of Marvel Zombies, Walking Dead sales leveled off for the first time.
No. Look. I see something different. I see that you were in the teens, and that up to the shipping of Marvel Zombies, you went up to 20, and then after they experienced the loveliness that is you on Marvel Zombies, and it did really good as a trade, up goes your sales into the 20s. And I'm saying that's not everyone who reads it.
That is the consistent rise that Walking Dead has been on since before I went to Marvel, which is another graph that I'll bring up here in a minute. That is a consistent rise on Walking Dead that has been interrupted. No, look, I'm not going to sit here and argue that doing Marvel work doesn't help you and doesn't help get your name out, but I'm just saying that the graph shows something different. So
I don't think it does. I think it shows exactly what I was talking about, that some audience.
Let's see the next one.
You said you plateaued. What is this?
Okay, the peak is for issue 50 of Walking Dead. This is the bottom line is Walking Dead during Marvel Zombies 2.
What did you do? Kind of something cover stunt there?
Yeah, we did a bit of a cover stunt. and I gotta say, variant covers are fantastic. No, I'm completely ignoring trade sales for
That's
that.
a big thing.
I think so.
Yeah,
The trade sold more after the Marvel Zombies?
I would say that Marvel Zombies, to a certain extent, has sold.
Can we see your IRS? Can we just see it? Even a dollar figure, how much did you make last year?
I don't know. I do okay. But anyway,
Robert, what's the cover price on Walking Dead?
$2.99.
So it is the same as Marvel Zombies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
How many ads do you have?
okay. So we got Marvel Zombies 2 here. There's nothing. There's hype before Marvel Zombies comes out that is completely not affecting Walking Dead whatsoever. Issue 50 hits. I leave Marvel, and then these are sales for issues that aren't even out yet, because I've got some advanced sales numbers on these issues, and sales are starting to go up now that I've left Marvel.
Okay, now two things that you've done wrong here. Number one, for especially, and I would say the same thing about Powers if I were to make a graph. Should not include trade paperback sales is literally like I don't even know why you bothered making a graph. Honestly, it's complete. It's like some movies make so much money on DVD to not pretend that's part of the equation like studios do is ridiculous. So your graph's a little mishigassy there. The other thing is, so you're including issues that haven't shipped when clearly because you've left Marvel, no one's going to buy those issues. So really. If that's what's pre-sold, you're going to go to the stores and be piles of them. No, but it's interesting that you did that. But it's funny. I feel it's like a Republican-Democratic debate. We're looking at a graph and both saying something different. It's like a Rorschach test. I see my point extremely well illustrated.
I'll do charts on the trade sales, and we'll release them publicly.
Okay, that'd be
It'll
great.
be fun. It'll be good. Okay, let's bring.
But I'm interested that you did this.
Okay, so here's the life of Invincible and Walking Dead.
You know, if you stayed at Marvel, you wouldn't have time to do this.
This is my hobby.
You do this anyhow, right? You have these right.
Yeah. The dots that we got running across here, we got the first dot on the left is Captain America, my first Marvel work. We see that happening there, and we've got numbers on Walking Dead leveling off for the first time. Walking Dead sales are going up on the red line before I go to Marvel. Look, I'm just pointing out the things that I see on the
I'm
graph.
actually having trouble following this one. Which one is it?
Okay, the red line is the life of Walking Dead from 1 to issue 55. And then the blue line is Invincible from 1 to issue 55. And Captain America is the orange dot that's not showing up orange on this. It's the dot on the top left. And then we got a triangle for Marvel Zombies 1. We got some kind of asterisk thing.
What's the blue line?
That's invincible.
Okay. Well, see here, there's two things here that are very, very telling, and this has been my experience in comics. Look at your first few issues there, because the same thing happened with Powers. Look, Walking Dead, what do you got, 7 there? And then it goes down, because all comics go down in the second issue.
Because it's a completely untested.
I know, but it's not even untested. Every book in the world goes down in the second issue.
Because retailers are ordering comics before they're actually hitting in stores. They have no idea. It's complete guesswork. That's a natural.
But most people can't survive the 3-issue dip. That's what I'm saying. You're showing the reality there that I was describing for both your titles.
I think most people not being able to survive that dip is a broad generalization.
But look how many books never finish. Look at me, and I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about all across the board. They just can't hack it. It's very soul wrenching. It hurts, man. It hurts to put out a book, and the world goes, "Don't care." It hurts, and you got to have a special kind of mental issue to push through that. I don't care. I'm going to keep going, man. I'm going to finish my story. I don't care if you buy it or not. And you ask Jim Valentino, who got our orders for Powers, and he couldn't even believe he wanted to go to color. It was me on Torso selling 2,200. Mike Oming on Ship of Fools selling 1,800. Can we go color? Are you fucking shitting me? Want to go color? You get together, you guys are going -60 to put the math together. And we came out, Powers, and we did 12.5. And we were over the moon because we never even touched 10. We couldn't even see 10, right? And we'd always with David Mack, and Kabuki was always selling like 60, 80,000 copies. And we're like, "Hi, David, how is it up there?" And so when we also saw this incredible, because this is what happens. So the first issue comes out 12.5, and they give you the news. We can print this one. It's probably not going to make 3 issues because it's going to cut to 8, it's going to cut to 6. The guy's got to make a decision: black and white, or just go away. And we made the decision, black and white. We'll just go to black and white. Bummer, because we really had a color theory we wanted to apply. We lucked out. Finally, everything kind of hit finally, and our sales went up and up and up. And we'd have the graph very similar to the Walking Dead graph. But these are very, very unique experiences for the direct market and for the creator-owned comic book community.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will admit that it's very unique to have a book that consistently.
So you should write on top of a unique look at comics.
That's fine.
Do you have another one of these?
I do.
Does one make a smiley face?
What's the next one? It does. Okay, here are our...
I'm in a whole other part of the thing.
It's all those Avengers books. But,
I like this guy.
Okay, so the broken lines are because we've got missed ship months, but if you look that's how the line works, because I'm skipping months so that would all line up. But no, that's not it. I've shipped late books.
Marvel can't miss a new Avengers. We never miss it.
You have missed?
No, we never miss it. We never missed.
You missed.
New Avengers, I don't think has
We
ever
never
missed
missed.
You are both mistaken.
There's a quarter Marvel has to hit that books don't miss.
It might have bumped
Ultimate misses everywhere. You never miss. Maybe Finch was like a couple weeks behind.
Civil War.
Anyway,
I didn't write Civil War. I'm not even gonna-
Anyway, the bottom line, the broken line with the X's is Powers, which is on a slow decline. And the green line is Ultimate Spider-Man, the blue line is New Avengers, the red line is Mighty Avengers, and then the top little spike thing there is Secret Invasion.
Powers to me looks like it hasn't budged.
Powers
Like it hasn't.
Powers to you looks like it hasn't budged because it sells so far under what your other Marvel books sell. You've got 300,000 to 0, and so while it has dropped by like 3,000 copies in the last 2 years, it doesn't really show up. But that's not the issue. The issue is that you were just talking about how Dark Avengers is going to help out Powers, and the hype around Dark Avengers is going to get Powers to
You don't see. This is where
Mighty Avengers debut, and we have no blip, we have no rise in sales whatsoever.
Because this is a half a chart. You're not including a lot of elements to the chart.
I'm not including trades. You have me on that.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Huge
I
for
know.
Walking Dead, and you know I know.
No, I know the trades.
And I know
are
you know
very
my
big.
numbers because you saw my paperwork even this week. So because I got paperwork from you, so I figured you'd see it. So I'm saying that, and God bless you for getting me my paperwork, but truth is that that is a completely like if you handed that in as your financial report, I'd kick you out of the boardroom. You got half a chart there. It's true. It doesn't make any because
I could not include trade sales because I do not have access to trade sales numbers online.
Online. Oh,
Online.
Yeah, these are the internet numbers?
Yes, these are internet
Oh
numbers.
my God. Bullshit numbers. You know those are
bullshit numbers were?
They're way out. One's minus 50.
What's
One's
wrong?
something.
Bring it up. Angle than the audience sees it. Listen to me now.
No.
You make the argument that online numbers do not count, and the people that make the online numbers are completely inaccurate, completely made up.
No, don't be king. Listen. I said that these people that analyze the numbers and they jack off on the numbers, make their point about the numbers, are completely...
Online commentary about numbers is largely inaccurate a lot of times with the,
so we agree with the
Yeah, but I'm not
thing.
using commentary. I'm using the hard, dry facts that are online, which are accurate in relation
Absolutely
to
are
real
not
numbers.
accurate, and you see how far apart the two numbers are?
Yeah.
The lines are not near each other. They're different.
Could you provide us some context? What are the actual numbers here?
Okay, what we're seeing here is the lower green line is Walking Dead single issue sales online. The purple line that's directly above it that runs parallel is Walking Dead numbers, actual sales. The blue line is online numbers for my Ultimate X-Men run, and then the red line is is actual numbers on my Ultimate X-Men run. And the point that I'm trying to make is that online numbers are off, but they are off in relation to each other. The lines run concurrent because it's a consistent variance.
I don't agree.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. If you look at this dot, hold on a second.
You got a pointer? You got a pointer now?
You look at this dot right here.
No, I don't see that. You see that?
They saw it. Okay, if you go to the point and you count back 3 dots on the Ultimate X-Men line, you'll see that the blue dot is actually higher and closer to the red dot, which means that online numbers are inaccurately showing that that number is better on that issue. And so the online numbers are slightly inaccurate sometimes, but in that case it's in the favor.
So you agree with me? They're inaccurate numbers that are not worth discussing.
Yes, but a book that is going down, and a book that is going up is going up. And online numbers are, they're consistently wrong. And so in relation to each other, you can use online numbers to make whatever point you make, because they do reflect what the actual numbers are. You act like...
No, I'm going to say something.
Go ahead.
When you are tabulating how much money you and your partners make on Walking Dead, do you include the trade paperback as a massive form of money making for that title?
Yeah. Are you going to...
Yeah, have you seen? No, because you're ignoring it. You keep pointing at the chart, and I'm telling you that this chart, to me, I can't believe you made it. I'm kind of freaked out. But to me, it's an inaccurate. It feels. I made that McCain before, but it feels like a bullshit political kind of half a fact. It's half a fact. You're saying half a fact, the half that you would like to say, but the truth of the fact were also represented on some of these charts, and half of the facts you're not even representing on your charts, to the point where it makes the chart inaccurate completely. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting. It's absolutely interesting. That's why people yell about it online all the time. Vanetta will tell you, the people on Newsround screaming about sales all the time. And I'm always like, guys, you guys seem so intelligent. Why are you analyzing something that I'm telling you is inaccurate? And there it is. It's inaccurate.
You're saying the numbers are inaccurate.
I'm saying that these estimates are inaccurate to what the final total sales of the books are.
Yeah, but what's the point? Your online numbers say you sell 5 copies, and then the real numbers is 6.
Right.
So what's the point? It's
I'm
slightly
saying I
inaccurate.
sold 5, I sold 6. What's the difference? You're
But
asking,
if
I never say anything about sales. What I've talked about sales today is the most I've ever said out loud. I never say numbers. Because I always think when people say numbers, and I'm not talking about your chart.
Sure.
When people say numbers when they're talking at the bar, they're always lying. they're always adding 25%.
That is true. You
Yeah,
can close that.
yeah. So I never talk about numbers because I find it ugly. But what we're trying to express to the up-and-comers here is the realities, the financial realities of it. So we can only talk from our experience. So that's what I'm talking about. So if people online talk about it, that's what I say. So it's nice that you made a chart there. But there's more to the chart than you gave up. But again, and even now thinking about the chart a little, it was the rarefied air chart, and you're trying to knock my rarefied air point down, but that was the best.
I just don't like hearing rarefied air. It's a bad phrase.
But but it's not elitist. It's the truth.
I'm happy that it started a discussion.
Yeah,
All I'll say,
absolutely.
the discussion is going to be important and it's going to be ongoing.
So what happens next?
What happens next that one of you, hopefully all of you, but I know only one of you are going to go back to you're not even going to go back to the con. You're going to go back to your hotel room and you're going to write something fucking amazing. And you're going to draw something fucking amazing. And you're going to blow our minds away because we've either made you really excited or made you really nervous and you've got to go express it. And honestly, hopefully, that's all I could ever hope is that someone here creates something spectacular. And that's all I want.
iFanboy would like to thank Squarespace.com for sponsoring this episode. If you ever wanted to build a complex high-end website but you don't know a thing about coding, Squarespace has the tools for you. You can build websites with high-end functionality and all sorts of complex stuff on them using their tools. Whether you have a large, powerful business or you just want to build a real nice blog, Squarespace has got what you need. They give everyone the opportunity to build pages that are just as powerful and flexible as those of the big dog. Keep an eye out for some pages that Squarespace is going to be building for us. GoDaddy.com. Thanks for sponsoring this episode. Web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to Hosting Connection, the place to install over 30 free applications, sure, to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names as low as $1.99, world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Looking to drive viewers to your video content? Then get a .tv domain name and stand out from the crowd. TV domains are perfect for podcasters, video bloggers, or anyone with something to say, and they're available now at GoDaddy.com.
There was less punching than I expected. I was very upset.
Were you expecting a big kind of throwdown?
I will say this buzzword of the evening, rarefied air.
Yes, if I never hear that word.
What the hell is rarefied air? I don't understand. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's certainly a fine bit of nonsense to be spouting out in an argument, but because it always throws you off. Like, well, if you didn't have so much rarefied air, you wouldn't be such an asshole. And it's like, well, what the fuck? What are you saying? What are you saying? But
yeah. So coming out of it, there's a lot of discussion about your manifesto, which has been seen as a call to arms, calling for almost another exodus to do creator-owned work.
Calling for another exodus is one thing. I see one on the horizon, is what it is. I don't think that I am instigating it. I just want to be there to help it along. I don't know. It's in the air. I see so much dissent in the ranks, and I hear so much other things that I just see it happening, and I'm very excited for it. And I think it's going to be what comics needs. I think comics, the reason I jumped in and did the video and am doing this is because, I see the winds a changing. And it excites me, and I just want to be there to usher it along. And now I'm rambling, but
what I think was interesting about the pairing and the conversation between you and Bendis is that you guys are two very similar creators. You started off
I don't know now. Now maybe not, but we're good friends. I mean, I talk to him all the time. It's he's a nice guy. He's a very smart guy. I wish he would do more creator-owned work.
Right.
I will say that. That's the thing I'm going to hit him on now. It's just do more creator-owned work.
You made a very interesting point that you compared his Avengers books and the sales of Powers, and Powers fans know that it's suffered in schedule and personal reasons aside, things like that. Yeah, there are other factors.
I wasn't trying to show that Powers is decreasing in sales. It's a natural attrition thing. It's not like they're hurting in any way whatsoever. It's not a bad thing. All I was just trying to show is that he made a point that Dark Avengers helps, or that Dark Avengers is going to help New Avengers, or is going to help Powers, and he just had Mighty Avengers debut, and it had absolutely no effect whatsoever on Powers. And it's not an argument that you can make. Right. And it's easy to sit up there, in front of a crowd that's, going to laugh at a lot of things and, pick a spreadsheet apart. But, I mean, numbers are facts, and the facts were there. And I just don't see, a clear effect on those things.
Right.
So.
And there was a lot of discussion about the fact that trades don't play a role in it, as well as that this used the kind of greater sales kind of picture. But ultimately, as a third party,
Trade sales are, a very large portion of comic book sales these days, and they're, it's a big deal, but if a Marvel series hitting big is going to affect the sales on a series, it's going to affect the trades, which I didn't include in my spreadsheets because online trade numbers are not accurate because bookstore trade I'm not on the top 100 graphic novels every month with Invincible because I fall below 100, but it doesn't mean I'm not selling right below that. Those numbers are not online. You just can't use those, and so that's why I left them off. But if your hit Marvel series is affecting your sales, you are going to see a blip on your series. I know that trades are a big deal. Trades sell well in bookstores. Trades are the future of comics. But if the sales bump is there, it's going to be in trades and single issues. And what I was showing with those graphs is there is no visible bump at all in single issues. And so the argument, it's the spreadsheets, they speak for themselves.
So you guys came, you sat up on the dais together. Now what? How do we go? Where from here?
I'm not expecting a Christmas card. I'll say this. I don't know. I'm gonna have Thanksgiving somewhere else.
Well, not so much personally, but rather just business wise.
I have a lot of things planned that I'm gonna try and roll out in 2009. A big part of this was kids. Yeah. That I really regret that it didn't get brought up more. Kids are something that we desperately need in this industry. The fact that there is a branch of entertainment where there's no growth in the younger audience whatsoever, is a very dangerous thing. That is a warning sign that we should all see. Yeah. And I think moving forward, that's something that I am going to try and work towards, getting more kids to read comics. And it's something that Marvel and DC would have a much easier time doing it because their reach is further and they have the icons. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here and say, we need to make more comics for kids and then not do it. Right. It's something that that needs to be done, and so I'm just going to get my hands dirty and jump in and do something.
So we can expect kids comics from Image.
We'll see something. We'll see something.
And have any creators responded to your call to arms? I mean, and I'm sure nothing can be announced, but I mean, do you think that what you've done in the past couple of months will have a measurable effect?
A measurable effect? I don't know, and I'm not sitting here. I'm certainly not going to take credit for any new creator-owned books that are coming out. That's not why I did it. Right. It's not. I didn't do it so that I could take credit for anything or try and act like I had any kind of influence on anybody. It was all. It was all there, and I'm just trying to scratch the surface and let things. I'm not making any sense right now. I'm a little tired. It was a little hot in that room.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It started a discussion. The discussion is the important part. That's going on. It's ongoing. It's going to continue.
And have you talked to other creators who have been like, hey, let's hear your story?
From a lot of different creators that are like, well, what are you talking about? What exactly is the deal here? And and I've been able to discuss things with them and whatnot.
Because they won't necessarily go to Image. I mean, they could go to another publisher. It's just more.
Yeah, I mean, Image is the best deal in town for creator-owned comics. I mean, let's be honest here. It's you don't get a better deal anywhere else. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
If the deal, it's Image Comics is awesome, but they can go anywhere they want. Right. I don't care.
All right, well, thanks, Robert. As always, it's caused a lot of discussion online, and we appreciate that.
I hope that it will continue. If nothing comes from this, but a greater awareness of the situation and a greater awareness of creator-owned comics and whatnot, then bravo. So that's I'm happy.